Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our Teaching Healthcare at New York City Public Schools webinar. I am Taisha Morin. I support teacher recruitment here at NYCPS. Tonight's webinar is about how to teach at NYCPS as a healthcare CTE teacher through the transitional aid pathway. Before we get started and allow folks to continue to join in, we're going to do a quick poll. And the question is going to be, which healthcare industry area do you have work experience in? So I'm going to launch the poll right now. And if you don't see one that directly aligns with your particular industry area, you can select other. So we'll give folks a few minutes to join in, and then we'll get started. I see there's a few folks typing other. I'm interested to see at some point in the chat if you could drop what's the specific industry area. That would be helpful for us to know as well. As of right now, it's 19% nursing, 15% medical assisting. All right, we'll give folks one more minute and then we'll get started. If you're now joining, we're doing a quick poll launch. You can select what healthcare industry area that you have work experience in. And in one more minute, we'll continue with the presentation. All righty. Thank you everyone for participating in the poll. I'm going to close it now. All righty. So as we get started, we want to share a few housekeeping notes with you. If you're joining from the GoToWebinar app, you can submit a question by clicking the question icon. If you're joining through other formats, select the drop-down tab labeled Questions to submit your question. Open QR codes on the screen using your phone camera for easy access to links shared throughout the presentation, so you can hover over them. Don't worry if you miss something. We will send a recording out of tonight's presentation in a follow-up email. And please wait until we near the end of the presentation, as we will be covering a large amount of information. So we'll respond to select questions if time permits, and then you can find additional answers through our online support center, which we will have QR codes of that later in the presentation too. But if you have a question, it may come up throughout the presentation, so please drop it in the chat or wait towards the end where we will answer a select few questions if time permits. So tonight we're going to speak about the transitional aid pathway to becoming a healthcare CTE teacher. If you are a healthcare professional who is thinking about shifting to teaching from your industry area, then you're in the right place. If you are already a certified CTE teacher or a certified teacher in any other subject area, you can join one of our general monthly info sessions to learn more about the application process through the QR code provided here. So as we said, we have a lot to cover tonight, so let's get started. We're hoping that you walk away with the following tonight. Know the key details about career and technical education, an understanding of the CTE healthcare landscape at New York City Public Schools, including why it's such a big priority for this administration, understand the application and certification process to become a CTE teacher, and begin determining your own eligibility and pathway to becoming a CTE healthcare teacher. So why teach at New York City Public Schools? When you join New York City Public Schools, you join the largest, most dynamic district in the nation. And we're going to take a look at what this large, most dynamic district looks like. So NYCPS has over 900,000 students who speak over 180 languages, a network of 77,000 fellow teachers, and New York City educators that have the unique privilege and responsibility to jumpstart the next generation of innovators, leaders, and citizens. NYCPS is comprised of 1,600 schools that are as diverse as our students and the distinctive neighborhoods we serve. Within our schools, teachers build personal connections with their students, colleagues, and families to support relationship building and learning outcomes. So now we're going to take a look at our starting salaries as of January 2025 are $66,733 for bachelor's and no experience, and $75,017 with master's and no experience. Teachers' starting salaries vary based on education and experience. You can also earn additional compensation for teaching after school or summer school programs and for teaching in demanding environments. On September 24, 2025, salaries increased to 68,902 will increase to 68,902, and for masters 77,455 respectively. The Office of Teacher Recruitment and Quality is unable to predict what your starting salary will be based on your experience and educational attainment, regardless of the teaching pathway you choose. You can estimate your starting salary by visiting the UFT salary schedule through the QR code provided there. It outlines opportunities for increase based on previous teaching experience, longevity at New York City Public Schools, and educational credits. All teachers begin at the base salary and then apply for salary steps and salary differentials using the salary application system after beginning teaching. If eligible for a higher salary due to experience or educational attainment, you must apply for a salary step when you begin teaching full-time at New York City Public Schools, and you cannot apply before then. If you are a paraprofessional, your years of teaching does not count as full-time teaching experience. If you are a full-time substitute teacher, your experience does count as full-time teaching, but you need to provide documentation and proof of your full-time work. And here you can find additional resources regarding salary on the New York City Public Schools and the UFT website by accessing these QR codes. We also have an upcoming salary and benefits info session, which will take place on June 18. And if you want to learn more about salary and benefits at New York City Public Schools, you can use this QR code to register to join us. Some additional perks to working at New York City Public Schools include comprehensive health insurance plans, dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Some require no employee contribution. Annual retention bonuses prorated during your first year and increase each year. Membership with the United Federation of Teachers. Enrollment in a pension plan. New York City Public Schools employees are eligible for many additional benefits, including commuter benefits, a college savings program, and employee discounts on everything from technology and media to travel and education, in addition to scholarships, financial incentives, and more. And as a CTE healthcare teacher at NYCPS, you get to enjoy a predictable daytime work schedule, which includes weekends off, paid holidays, and summer breaks. And it gives you the time to recharge and pursue passions and maintain your well-being. So a good work-life balance. There are also exciting loan forgiveness programs you could be eligible for as a New York City Public Schools teacher. This includes the New York State Teacher Loan Forgiveness Program, which is available for teachers serving hard to staff districts or who teach in subject shortage areas in New York State. You must be a New York State resident for at least 12 months to be eligible, and you can scan the QR code on the left for additional details. New York City Public Schools employees may also be eligible for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. The PSLF program forgives the remaining balance on your direct loans after you've made equivalent the equivalent of 120 qualifying monthly payments under an accepted repayment plan and while working full time for an eligible employer. And as a healthcare professional and a career changer, you may be wondering what resources are available to support you in becoming a CTE healthcare teacher. New teachers at New York City Public Schools hit the ground running with professional resources and learning opportunities tailored just for you, in addition to numerous career development opportunities available regardless of your years in the classroom. Each year, we survey new teachers and use the feedback to improve upon our offerings. This past year, 95% of new teachers listed professional learning as a top priority. So you're joining a cohort that deeply values professional growth. New teachers in New York City Public School receive supports tailored specifically to their needs. This include New Teacher Week, which introduces new teachers to professional learning through 5 days of workshops led by New York City Public School experts. School-based mentoring, which assigns new hires to an experienced and trained mentor teacher to support professional growth through your first year of teaching. First Class newsletter, which is a monthly digital bulletin for first year teachers that spotlight vetted resources, teaching tips, and answers common new teacher questions. No matter where they are in their career, teachers at New York City Public Schools have access to ongoing development opportunities, including coaching, PDs, and after school learning. Optional resources are also offered by New York City Public School offices and UFT, as well as digital resources that help teachers stay connected to the classroom tools and further learning opportunities. So who is New York City Public Schools looking for? We are looking for passionate, collaborative, and committed teachers. If this sounds like you and you believe in the power of education to transform students' lives, then NYCPS is the place for you. So we'll start off by focusing on an overview of career and technical education, also known as CTE, what it is, the healthcare areas we see the greatest need, and what it is like to teach CTE as a healthcare teacher at New York City Public Schools. So what is CTE? Career and technical education teachers provide academic and technical instruction across work-based learning experiences to high school students. NYCPS currently offers 300 programs of study across 90 schools, including 47 CTE designated high schools. These programs cover 16 different industry areas. Why is New York City Public Schools so committed to expanding CTE opportunities? And what do CTE teachers find so inspiring and meaningful? Teaching CTE is a great way to use your industry experience to prepare students for life after high school and to introduce them to career opportunities and requirements. Students are able to develop skills needed for specific career areas through hands-on learning experiences in high school. So our rigorous CTE programs blend a focus on academics with intensive study in in-demand healthcare industries such as nursing, medical assisting, emergency medical services, and more. And you see them listed here. The QR code on the right takes you directly to the website so that you can see all the various pathways available to teach healthcare. And we're going to talk about the certification aspect a little on in the presentation, but this will take you to the state's website to see the description and requirements for these various healthcare pathways. Now we will highlight a few New York City Public Schools healthcare schools and programs. Later in the presentation, we will discuss on how you can search and learn more about other New York City Public Schools healthcare schools and programs. Here we have Clara Barton High School. It is one of the oldest schools in the country to provide CTE education for healthcare pathways. Clara Barton currently offers the largest number of specialized CTE pathways in healthcare. Programs include licensed practical nursing, dental assisting, dental lab technician, vision care, and more. The school is known for its rigorous programs and providing students with opportunities to work with a number of local healthcare partners. Next, we have the Bronx STEAM Center. It is New York City Public Schools' second STEAM Center, and the first STEAM Center focused on health care careers. STEAM Bronx STEAM centers are recognized as innovative models in CTE education. Bronx STEAM will draw students from 10 select partner schools in the Bronx who will spend half of their day in 11th and 12th grade at STEAM, engaging in hands-on, project-based, career-connected learning that will culminate in them earning at least, if not more, industry credentials upon graduation. Bronx STEAM will launch in September with pathways that include medical assisting, certified nursing assistant, and cybersecurity, but will be growing to add more pathways, which include diagnostic medicine, EMT, and much more. So this is very exciting. And last but not least, we have the Northwell School of Health and Sciences, which is partnered with Northwell Health. This is NYC's largest healthcare employer. Northwell School of Health Science combines academic rigor with practical clinical experience, and their pathways include pre-nursing, medical assisting, healthcare management, and behavioral and mental health. So these are a few notable examples of the multiple healthcare schools and programs offered at New York City Public Schools. And as I said, later on in the presentation, we'll show you where you can look up more of these programs to engage with the schools. And now we're excited to take a few minutes tonight to hear from a current New York City Public School CTE teacher, Brenda Frezzo, who will share her own experience about becoming a CTE healthcare teacher. Brenda, I'm gonna turn it over to you if you can hear me.
Yes, Taisha, I can. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, okay. Well, good afternoon and welcome to this orientation or presentation of becoming a CTE teacher coming from the industry. As you see on the screen, my name is Brenda. The last name is Friso. I spent close to like 2 decades in the industry, and then I was encouraged to have a change. I also did nursing and medical assistant. Then I applied to the DOE after being convinced by another coworker who I previously worked with about the joy of teaching and being able to pass what you have learned from industry and from experiences to the younger generation. So at least you leave a something, you leave a promise. My current position is I teach at the Urban Assembly School of Collaborative Healthcare, and we are actually now hiring. We run two programs. We run the medical assistant program, which starts in the ninth grade. And from the ninth grade, students are given all the core health classes, the regular gen ed classes, and then when they become juniors, they choose between the medical assistant program and the EMT program. And this year we also added what's called the CFR, which is a certification that allows them to work in healthcare and become like, I think they can do like lifeguards and stuff like that. I've been a CT teacher for like the last, well, at this last school year that's ending is actually 14 years. You could change the slide, Taisha. What is a traditional CT health science teacher? It's based on learning activities. We try to do a lot of patient care concepts, skills, um, anatomy and physiology, which we know is the structure and function of the body. Medical terminology is huge because it's important to be able to read prescriptions and doctor's orders. And we also prepare students for what is called a certified high school diploma. By that I mean that once the students have computed a certain amount of work-based learning hours and internship clinical hours, they graduate with now a NYCED certified diploma and also what is called a CDOS diploma. And the CDOS is actually open to all students of CT school. What do we do as healthcare educators? We try to equip students with the knowledge and skills that prepares them for many post-secondary programs. Not all children like healthcare, but because they are also exposed to gen ed, we give them a choice. Many students do love the work-based learning because they learn so many skills. This year, my school had two huge advisory sessions, one in the fall semester, one in the spring, actually where they learned a lot of things about so many other industries, some in healthcare, some outside of healthcare. And I think joining us is a great way to share your expertise and contribute to the next generation. Also, I could add that many students, we know that college is very expensive these days. So many kids who graduate as medical assistants or EMT work alongside actually going to college. My seniors, which finished their NHA and NOCTI exams today, is about a lot of them have passed the exam, so they're already putting their resumes out there. So that makes it purposeful. Go ahead, Aisha. Um, as the slides say, there's a passion for content area, but what you learn to do is not what you learn in the industry, is actually becoming and understanding the pedagogy of teaching, which is how do children understand the content? How do children understand and apply the content? So the pedagogy of education have to align with the industry experience and that you're literally trained for. There are a lot of professional development. There's a lot of support in some schools. Every school, is different because administration differ. But once you come from the industry without the pedagogy background, you're literally offered a lot of support. That was my experience in terms of growing. My advice too is that every day is different. Every single day is different. Every child is different. Um, there's no one size fit all as an educator, because there are times you're the social worker, you're the teacher, and the parent is expecting so much of you. So it makes you try to be better every single day. You learn so many new ways of applying the industry and healthcare content other than what you learn in nursing school, and how much expansion you could actually give to what you've learned. So my advice is come join us. Anybody have any follow-up questions or would like to have a one-on-one conversation with me, you could reach out to Taisha. She has all my contact information, and I'll be more than willing to support you and guide you through the process. Thank you, Taisha.
Thank you so much, Brenda.
You're welcome.
So we hope you enjoyed learning about the impact of becoming a CTE healthcare teacher. Now we will dive into CTE teacher certification pathways, exploring the most common options for healthcare, and in providing examples and guiding you to know how to choose the pathway that best suits you. So if you're a career changer, the best pathway to become a CTE teacher is through the Trans A certification. A Trans A teaching certificate allows the employment of individuals with industry experience who meet the education and/or occupational requirements of the New York State Education's Department for a career in technical industry area. In this case, CTE Health Sciences. That's uh, the industry area for healthcare professionals. Um, What is unique about Trans A certification is that it allows you to teach before receiving an initial certificate, which is the typical first certificate for most New York City public school teachers. Trans A certification, as mentioned, is provided by the New York State Education Department, also known as NYCED. We'll review the process tonight, but note that we don't make final award determinations. A Trans A certificate allows you to teach grades 7 to 12 for 3 years. Within those 3 years, you will need to remain at the same New York City Public Schools school and complete the coursework requirements to apply for an initial certificate. And we'll talk more about that a little later on. So you can use this QR code to review the NYCED experience requirements by title. This tool gives a detailed description of what what type of work experience NYCED is looking for your industry area. So you need to determine if the experience and education requirement of an industry area within CTE Health Sciences that you meet the requirements of the specific um, industry area under the CTE title that you meet the requirements of it. So this QR code will let you know what the specific requirements for each um, industry area under the CTE Health Sciences title. There are many different pathways teacher candidates can take to receive a Trans A certification. The pathway you choose will likely depend on your education level, your industry experience, and your industry credentials if you have any. Tonight, we will be going over some of the most common pathways and we'll share information about where you can get more details about all of the pathway options. And we wanted to give you some examples of some industry credentials. There are multiple acceptable industry credentials for each CTE industry area. To find more information on accepted industry credentials for health science, you can access this QR code. We just listed a few examples here, so this could be useful if you end up choosing a pathway that may require industry credentials, or you can use for particular pathways even if it's not required. As stated, there are multiple pathways available for Trans A certification. This chart shows at the high level the multiple pathways available for Trans A certification. Again, the pathway you choose will likely depend on your education level, your industry experience, and if you have any industry credentials. So this is very high level, and later on in the presentation, we'll show you tools provided by NYSA that allows you to see the specific requirements for your particular industry area. So this tool is the New York State Certification Requirements search page. This is where you're going to search the relevant pathway requirements for your industry area. Be sure to check this web page carefully to find the specific requirements for your industry area, as they are unique for each industry area. When you're searching on this page, you'll want to input the following information in the drop-down menu. You'll select Career and Technical Teacher as your area of interest, and then select Health Sciences as the subject area. The grade level dropdown will only offer you grades 7 to 12, as Trans-A certification can only teach grades 7 to 12. Then you will select the specific health science title you want to see the qualifications for. So those are the examples of the medical assisting, practical nursing, etc. In that area, you will select the particular one you want to see the qualifications for. And then you'll select Transitional A as the cert license and press search to see all the specific pathway requirements for your industry area. There are some items that are required for a Trans-A certificate across all pathways. These requirements include completing 3 workshops, committing to teaching to the same New York City Public School for the 3 years of your Trans-A certification, receiving a year of mentoring and daily supervision for the first 20 days of teaching, fingerprint clearance. And we'll talk a bit more about some of these requirements tonight, and you can also find more information in the QR codes above. So pathways A and B are the most common pathways CTE candidates use to get their Trans-A certification. To qualify for pathway A, you must have at least an associate's degree in the healthcare field you're applying for and a minimum of 2 years of work experience in the field. On the other hand, pathway B is also very popular. To qualify for pathway B, you must have at least a high school diploma and at least 4 years of work experience in the field that you're applying for, and you must take and pass a New York State teacher certification exam, communicative and quantitative skills. You can find more information about this test on the QR code provided on this slide. Some additional pathways we see candidates use are pathways G and J. To qualify for pathway G, you must have at least 2 years of work experience in the healthcare field you're applying for, as well as hold an industry credential or pass a state-approved industry exam. To qualify for pathway J, you must have a bachelor's degree or higher in the healthcare field you are applying for, and either 1 year of work experience or an industry credential. As you can see, each pathway is unique, and these are only a few. There are further nuances within pathways depending on your particular industry area. You'll want to be sure to check the state certification requirements page and the industry requirements page to see what you might qualify for. So thoroughly checking these tools will help you make better determinations of which pathways you most likely qualify for. So we know that navigating pathways can be quite complex. So let's talk through a few examples. In this example, Lena has a bachelor's degree in nursing from NYU, and she has worked 2 years as a registered nurse in New York City. Lena should pursue pathway A because she has a bachelor's degree in the industry field, which is nursing, as well as at least 2 years of work experience in the field. Note that according to the New York State Education Department's requirements page, a registered nurse license is required for all pathways to become a CTE nursing teacher, even where there aren't industry credential is not listed as one of the requirements for the pathway. This is why it's important to carefully check NYCED's requirement page for your industry area and pathway to double and triple check what the requirements are. So this is an example where a registered nursing license is required across any of the pathways for nursing. A second example, let's take a look at David. David has worked as a medical assistant in a doctor's office for the past 3 years. David also holds an American Association of Medical Assistants certificate. Because David has an industry-related credential and he has at least 2 years of work experience as a medical assistant, he should pursue Pathway G. Also keep in mind that American Association of Medical Assistants certificate is one of the approved industry credentials listed for medical assisting on NYCED's website, and that QR code provided earlier in the presentation. So if you have an industry credential and you want to verify if it will be accepted by NYCED, you want to make sure you utilize that tool. As our last example, let's consider Jasmine. Jasmine has been working as a paramedic for 5 years since she graduated from high school. Jasmine should pursue Pathway B, which does not require any higher education after high school or GED. However, Jasmine will have to take the New York State Communication and Quantitative Skills Test. So this is an example where Pathway B would be useful if the highest level of education is high school or GED. So we've covered some examples of how to explore navigating pathways. We will now dive into the next steps to becoming a CTE healthcare teacher, the job search process, and answering questions you may have at the conclusion of the presentation. We know that the CTE application and certification process can be quite confusing, so we've broken down the process into 8 steps, which we will now walk through in detail to help you kickstart your CTE healthcare journey at New York City Public Schools. So first, you're going to select CTE Health Sciences as your industry area that you're applying for. Be sure to carefully read the requirements on the state website to make sure you will meet the qualifications of your selected industry area. Next, you will select your certification pathway for your desired CTE Health Science industry area. Look at the various pathway requirements on the state's website. Ask yourself these questions to determine what pathway is right for you. What is your education level and background? What is your work experience? What, if any, industry credentials do you hold? Have you completed an industry level assessment? Remember, there is no one size fit all option when choosing a pathway, and you might find that there are multiple pathways you may qualify. It's at your discretion to determine which one you feel based off the resources and these questions best apply to your experience and background. Next, you're going to want to update your resume to get ready for the New York City Public Schools teacher application. Here are some tips to consider when updating your resume. Make sure relevant experience from your industry area is visually prominent with headings like related industry experience. Be sure to clearly describe your roles and responsibilities and highlight your years of experience. Keep in mind that your resume is pertinent to the review of your New York City Public Schools teacher application. It will allow us to review your experience against the requirements of NYCED for your desired industry area, which will determine if your application will be successfully screened and gain access to New York City Public Schools job opportunities. So this is a very big aspect of our New York City Public Schools teacher application. So submitting an updated resume that reflects your experience for us to evaluate according to NYCE's requirements is very vital when applying to our application. As we mentioned, New York City Public Schools is a separate entity from the New York State Education Department's teacher or certification application. You will need to complete both and should do so at the same time. In order to submit your NYCPS teacher application, you can visit teachnyc.net. The 2025-2026 New York City Public Schools teacher application is open. So apply now to gain access to CTE healthcare job opportunities at NYCPS as soon as possible. As we mentioned, you'll want to create your NYCE Teach account to apply for Trans A certification. This way you can complete your required workshops and etc. You can upload information directly to your Teach account, and these will all help towards completing the requirements for your certification. Once you've submitted both applications, you're going to need to gather documentation to continue with the certification process. Your required documentation will depend on the pathway you selected, but you may need to collect official transcripts, evidence of industry credentials, and a work verification form. Please be sure to get a copy of any work verification form submitted on your behalf. You may need it to follow up, but there's information in the slide of where the work verification needs to be submitted directly to NYCED as part of your certification application process. Applicants who completed their education outside of the United States must have a foreign credential report submitted directly from an acceptable organization. The New York State Education Department does not accept credential reports submitted directly from the applicant. The foreign credential report must be submitted before New York City Public Schools reviews your online teacher application. We sometimes get inquiries about, but I have the work experience. Why was my application denied? We need to see a record, and I said, or you provide that it was submitted as part of your teacher application for your application to be reviewed and successfully screened if you have a foreign degree. Now, step 7, we're almost there. Be sure to complete your required workshops. NYCPS is an official provider of these workshops, which you can find more information about on the QR code on the right. And last but not least, beginning your job search. So you've selected health sciences as your industry and determined the best pathway suitable for your desired subject area. You've submitted your NYCED and NYCPS applications and collected your updated resume and documentation. It's time to begin your job search now. Our office will review your NYCPS teacher application. If it seems like you meet the state's requirements for your selected industry and pathway, your application will be entered into the new teacher finder. This is our online job board, and we'll talk more about that shortly. Remember that you are responsible for finding your own job and securing a job offer, and committing to 3 years of teaching is part of the state's requirements for obtaining Trans A certification. We offer lots of different job search supports. Encourage you to take advantage of them all, including researching schools online, conducting direct outreach to school, using the new teacher finder and vacancy lists we send you via email, and attending workshops and networking events you're invited to. Don't forget to network with current and former colleagues. You never know who might be able to connect you with a principal looking for a candidate just like you. And as we mentioned earlier, the new teacher finder is NYCPS job search tool. And here's a screenshot of what the NTF looks like. After selecting search all positions on the left panel, you can filter for position type, your preferred borough, grade level, and subject area. Principals enter their vacancies into the NTF, and while you can express interest via the NTF, you should also email principals directly. You can also visit NYCPS's CTE website to find info about all CTE schools. You can search by industry area as well as by borough or district. So as I was saying earlier, you can input when you look into the industry and areas of study, you can select specific healthcare industries and it will direct you to the schools and programs that offer that if you decide to search that way. We recommend that candidates send their resumes to principals of schools that have programs of interest, as they may have a need in the future, even if they don't have a current vacancy. So this is another way to increase opportunities for yourself in securing a vacancy. Even if the vacancy is not available now, you never know when a future opportunity can arise. So we know we've covered a lot of information. We've made it this far and we're almost at the end. So let's briefly recap the CTE process, your next steps, as well as where you can get additional support. We'll then go through the questions we haven't answered yet to see if we can address any of them now before closing the session. So as a brief recap, Trans-A certification is the main route for non-teacher candidates to teach CTE. There are multiple pathways to Trans-A certification depending on your education and industry experience. Meeting the requirements of a pathway for your desired healthcare industry area is required for your NYCPS teacher application to be successfully screened. Securing employment with NYCPS and committing to 3 years to an NYCPS school is a requirement to obtain in addition to the requirements outlined in this presentation. Follow the steps outlined to get started. So as a preview to what happens after you receive a job offer, your principals will coordinate the next steps with the district's human resource director, which is also known as HRD. The HRD will contact you for documentation to submit to NYCPS's CERT office. If the documentation submitted indicates that you meet the state's requirements for your selected pathway, the CERT office will grant you a temporary certification so you can begin teaching. Note, they will only do this if they are confident you meet the state's requirements. So be sure to double and triple check those requirements on the state's websites before applying. As we mentioned, the Trans-A certificate is only valid for 3 years. Within those 3 years, you will need to complete 3 courses, which is 9 credits total, as well as paid teaching. And you could visit this website through the QR code here for additional information. And for the sake of time and wanting to answer your questions, let's continue forward. And here you can visit our online support center for 24/7 support with the application and hiring process. The support center contains hundreds of articles about every stage of the application and hiring process, as well as a contact us button where you can submit your questions to the TRQ help desk for personalized response. So if some of your questions tonight are case by case, that will be the perfect place to submit it through our online support so that we could individually support you and get you the answers you're looking for. And here are some additional links to websites and resources that can support you through this process. We have the NYCED CTE site that has everything regarding certification and the Trans-A certification process. There's the Teach NYC CTE website, which is our page where you can find all our resources that support you in both navigating certification and the application process. The CTE.NYC site, which is the schools and programs page where you can learn more about CTE schools and search specifically for healthcare schools and programs. And then our online support center where you can reach out to us with individualized questions so that we can support you the best way we can. And please follow us on our New York City Public Schools CTE LinkedIn page, Facebook, and Instagram to stay on top of what's happening within New York City Public Schools. We have a really active social media where we regularly share updates on the application and recruitment events, as well as news about what's going on in our schools and relevant opportunities for teachers. So join the conversation.